Hey boys and girls, this is chapter 6 of Ali Baba. So today I'm going to read these paragraphs to you, and then you're going to need to draw the lines to see where you think the words go, what they mean. All right? Mr. Stein and Sarah looked around the green walls of the small cubicle as they waited to see Dr. Alexander. At last he came around the corner. "Well, hello," he said, "and how is my favorite patient today?" "I don't know, doctor," said Mrs. Stein. "Sarah's symptoms are so hard to explain. She won't eat, and she cries all the time. I'm so worried about her. I hope you can diagnose the problem." "Let's take a look," said the doctor. "Open your mouth, Sarah." Sarah snapped her head back indignantly as the doctor lifted her chin, but she opened her mouth. "Here's the problem," Dr. Alexander announced. "Sarah has a decayed molar. We'll have to pull it, I'm afraid. I sure wish we could teach dogs to brush and floss their teeth." So Sarah was a dog. That's right. All right. Cubicle. So what does cubicle mean? Symptoms. Diagnose, indignantly, and decayed. So we have rotten, signs or indications of something, resentfully, angrily, partitioned off space, determine the identity of an illness. All right, so you need to pick two of these and answer them on the back. Why do you think Ali Baba's wart seems so big to him? So why do you? So this is I think Ali Baba's wart seemed so big to him because, so remember, you won't find that one in the book. How did Ali Baba try to get rid of the wart? Ali Baba tried to get rid of the wart by... Why did Ali Baba and Roger get into a fight? Okay. Ali Baba and Roger got into a fight because, then it says, how did Mrs. Buxbaum feel about Ali Baba's behavior? So then you would have to write Mrs. Buxbaum and then felt blah, 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 blah about Ali Baba's behavior. So the answer will go after you wrote felt. All right, go ahead and get out chapter 6, and I will read it to you guys. Please follow along. One morning when Ali Baba Berenstain was 8 years, 10 months, and 4 days old, he noticed a small bump on his right pinky. He showed it to his mother. "This looks like a wart," she said. "I bet I got it from..." Oh, there's that name again. We're going to call her She. She Fishbone's frog, Ali Baba thought. He hoped he wasn't going to get a wart on his lips, too. "It's nothing to worry about," said Mrs. Berenstain. "It'll go away all by itself." Ali Baba tried not to think about his wart. He had never paid much attention to his pinky before. Suddenly, he was always aware of it. The bump seemed to be getting bigger. So he's thinking about it all the time. Could that be an answer? When he was writing something at school, his pinky rubbed against the paper. When he sat watching television, Ali Baba would find himself picking on the dead skin around the wart. It was hard to stop himself. What had he done with his hands before he had the wart? He couldn't remember. Mrs. Berenstain looked at Ali Baba's finger again. "If it doesn't go away soon, I'll take you to the doctor," she said. "He can remove it." "Will it hurt?" asked Ali Baba. "No, I'm sure it won't," said his mother. But even with his mother's reassurance, Ali Baba was still worried about his wart. He remembered that he had held Farah with both hands. Suppose one morning he woke up with and his hands were totally covered with warts. The next time Ali Baba was at the library, he looked up warts in a medical encyclopedia. The book was almost as big as the Manhattan phone book, and it was filled with diagrams and charts and long, difficult words. Under W, Ali Baba found the entry for warts. The book said warts were caused by a virus and often disappeared without treatment. It also said that there were many superstitions about warts. Some people thought they were caused by magic. Now that was an idea that Ali Baba liked. He decided right then and there to find a magic cure. Ali Baba found a book on superstitions. It said that frogs and toads did not cause warts. That shows you can't believe everything you read, Ali Baba said to himself. He had never had a wart in his life before he touched a frog. Then he held Farah, and within weeks he had a wart on his finger. What more proof did he need? He turned the page and read on. One method people had used for removing warts was to rub a grain of barley on it and then feed the barley to a chicken. When the barley disappeared down the chicken's gullet, it meant that the wart would disappear too. Do you think that's actually going to work? Think he's going to try it? Ali Baba could not remember ever having seen a live chicken in Manhattan. Even the dead ones his mother brought home from the butcher no longer had their heads attached. The next charm seemed more practical. You could rub a bean or a piece of stolen meat on the wart. Then the bean or meat had to be burned to the ground. As it decayed, the wart would dry up and disappear. That didn't sound too hard to arrange. Luck was with Ali Baba. That very evening his mother served chicken cutlets and string beans for supper. They also had baked potatoes. The book hadn't mentioned potatoes at all, so Ali Baba was able to eat all of his. But when no one was looking, he slid a piece of chicken and one of the beans off his plate and into the napkin in his lap. As soon as supper was over, Ali Baba disappeared into his room with the napkin and its contents. He rubbed his wart with the chicken cutlet and the string bean. That was easy. It was also easy to bury them. There was a spider plant in his bedroom, and he just had to poke a little hole in the dirt. The only problem was that the book hadn't said what to do next. Would Ali Baba risk losing the good effects if he had to take a bath? He figured it would be better to skip washing that evening. At bedtime, he ran water in the bathroom sink so it sounded as if he was getting washed. In the morning, the wart was the same, but Ali Baba's fingers smelled slightly from the seasoned breadcrumbs which had coated the chicken. Mrs. Bernstein said that Ali Baba looked a bit gray. Be sure and wash yourself extra well this evening, she told him. In school, Ali Baba finished his math quiz while the other students were still working. Can I go to the library? He asked Mrs. Buxbaum. Mrs. Buxbaum smiled. Certainly, David, she said. Ali Baba, he corrected his teacher. She almost never remembered his new name. In the library, Ali Baba found another book about superstitions. This one had chants to recite. There was even one to say when rubbing a wart with a string bean. As this bean shall rot away, so my warts shall soon decay. Drat! If only he had looked in this book yesterday, he would have recited those words last night. Now they probably wouldn't even have string beans again for a week. He wondered if the chant would work with carrots or peas. Probably not, or the book would have mentioned it. Maybe he could dig up the bean he buried in the spider plant and reuse it. Another chant went like this: Ash tree, ashen tree, pray by this wart of me. Ali Baba had never seen an ash tree. All these chants for removing warts seemed to be for people living in the country. That was because frogs were in the country too. He wondered how she, Fishbone, was doing. By now, she might be covered with warts. There was only one more chant in the book. Wart, wart on the snail shell's back, go away soon and never come back. You were supposed to rub a black snail on the wart while you were chanting. Too bad it was another country rhyme. Ali Baba borrowed a piece of paper and a pencil from the librarian and copied all the verses. He folded the paper with the magic chants and put it into the pocket of his pants. Then he returned to his classroom. As he sat down in his seat, he remembered the class aquarium. There was a snail in it that ate the algae growing on the glass walls of the tank. The snail's shell was black. Ali Baba could hardly sit still. He wanted to run right over to the tank. The rest of the morning passed slowly. Ali Baba had no chance to get near the aquarium. When his class came back from lunch, Mrs. Buxbaum gave everyone 10 minutes of free time to walk around the room or play quiet games. It was during this time of the day that the plant monitor watered the plants, the chalkboard monitors washed the boards, and the fish monitor fed the fish. Ali Baba hurried over to the fish tank. Every week, a different student was fish monitor. In 3 weeks, it would be Ali Baba's turn. But there was no way that he could wait that long. He wanted to cure his wart right now. Roger Zucker was fish monitor this week. When Roger removed the cover from the top of the tank, Ali Baba stuck his hand inside and pulled out the snail. He reached in so quickly he didn't even think about rolling up his shirt sleeve first. Do you think this is going to end very well for Ali Baba? Hey, what are you doing? Said Roger. I'm just borrowing the snail for a minute, said Ali Baba in a low voice. He didn't want the whole class to know. It will die out of the water, said Roger, trying to grab the snail away from Ali Baba. A few kids wandered over to see what was happening. Fish feeding was usually a pretty dull activity. Today it looked a bit more interesting. Give me that snail, Roger hissed. I'll give it back, Ali Baba said. I told you I would. Roger grabbed Ali Baba's fist. Ali Baba pushed Roger away. Roger punched Ali Baba in the arm. Fight! Fight! Several kids called out. Before anyone could stop him, Ali Baba rushed out of the classroom, clutching the snail in his right fist. He remembered to grab the wooden pass that you needed if you wanted to go to the boys' room. He would be safe there. In the boys' room, Ali Baba closed himself inside one of the cubicles. He switched the snail to his left hand and took the paper with the rhymes out of his pocket. Rubbing the snail on his right pinky, he chanted, Wart, wart, on the snail's shell back, black, go away soon and never come back. Just as he was finished, he heard a sharp knock on the bathroom door. David, are you in there? It was Mrs. Buxbaum. I'll be right out, said Ali Baba, rushing out of the cubicle. He did not bother to remind his teacher of his new name. Are you all right, David? Mrs. Buxbaum called. You know you aren't supposed to run out of the classroom without permission. I took the pass, Ali Baba called back. Roger says you took the snail out of the fish tank, said Mrs. Buxbaum to Ali Baba when he had come out. It's okay, said Ali Baba. I'm going to put it right back. In our class, we do not take snails out of the fish tank and bring them to the bathroom, said Mrs. Buxbaum sternly. Where is the snail? Ali Baba opened his left hand and showed the snail to his teacher. Put the snail back into the aquarium and go to your seat at once, David. I will have to speak to your parents about this. All around him, Ali Baba's classmates were whispering. No one understood why he had taken the snail, and Ali Baba wasn't going to tell them. His wart was his business. After supper that evening, Mrs. Berenstain got a phone call from Mrs. Buxbaum. When she had hung up, she called Ali Baba. What happened today in school? She asked. Mrs. Buxbaum said you stole a snail out of the fish tank and were going to flush it down the toilet. That's a lie, said Ali Baba indignantly. I told her I was going to put it right back into the aquarium. But why did you take it out? Asked Mrs. Berenstain. I had a private reason, said Ali Baba. You had better tell me all about it, said his mother. Mrs. Buxbaum seemed quite upset. She told me that you got into a fight with Roger, too. I didn't want to fight with Roger, Ali Baba protested, but he was fish monitor and he made a big deal when I took the snail out of the tank. Why this sudden interest in snails? Asked Mr. Berenstain, who had just come into the room. I only wanted to borrow the snail for a couple of seconds, said Ali Baba. I needed it for a magic spell, for the magic spell. What magic spell? Both parents exclaimed at once. So Ali Baba had to explain how he tried to cure his wart by rubbing it with the black snail shell and chanting. It's too soon to tell, said Ali Baba, but I bet I cured it now. I'm going to take you to Dr. Clive tomorrow afternoon, said Mrs. Berenstain, putting her arm around Ali Baba. He will know how to treat the wart properly. In the 12th century, we don't have to rely on magic. But I like magic, said Ali Baba. The next afternoon, Dr. Clive looked at Ali Baba's finger. I diagnose an active imagination, said the doctor. How can that be treated? Asked Mrs. Berenstain. It is like the wart. It must be allowed to run its course. Are you sure? Asked Mrs. Berenstain. Quite, said Dr. Clive. I've had the same symptoms myself when I was young. What sort of thing did you do when you were my age? Asked Ali Baba. No sense in telling you, said the doctor. You will think of enough things to do on your own. So Mrs. Berenstain took Ali Baba home again. The wart remained for a long time, and Ali Baba forgot all about it. And one day when he suddenly remembered, it was gone. That's the way warts are, said Mrs. Berenstain. They just come and go. But Ali Baba knew better. He believed in magic. As for Roger, in a couple of days the boys were good pals again. That had nothing to do with magic. That was friendship. All right, boys and girls, I hope you liked chapter 6. Make sure that you match the words to the definitions and make sure you pick 2 to answer on the back. Make sure they're in complete sentences. We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 7. Bye.